Hello and welcome back to another Talking Wolves podcast. So much to unwrap, if you'll pardon the pun, on the last week of this fantastic and dramatic football club, Wolverhampton Wanderers. My name is Dave. Alongside me today, we've got Mr. Jord and Russell. Jord, thank you for joining me again. As always, it's good to chat, even with these circumstances which are surrounding the club at the moment. But how you been?
Yeah, sound. All good. Sort of, I guess, the last sort of proper week of work leading into Christmas. So I think it's going to, for me at least, it's going to be extremely quiet for the next few weeks, which is going to be good. Might have to wiggle a mouse and put Netflix on, but no, it'll be fine for that sort of stuff. But yeah, no, good. Same old, really. Golfed yesterday, managed to get out, played, got back, watched the Wolves, got pissed off, turned it off. So it's standard Saturday.
afternoon.
Yeah. Genuinely is now my standard Saturday. So it's pretty wild, to be honest.
Yeah, you got what day do you finish? You're working up to Christmas Eve, are you?
Yeah, technically, but I'm pretty much all wrapped up on Friday, to be fair. So I'm working through. I'll be doing like admin bits, but yeah, nothing really customer facing for a few days. So I'll be able to chill out and just get some admin stuff done and get ready for the new year.
Yeah, happy days. Yeah, I've finished now, thankfully. But I was chatting to you before we started. I'm still a little bit hectic today as well. I'm halfway through a IKEA cupboard at the moment. I started it off yesterday. I had like an hour before the game. I spent an hour after the game. And sort of the cupboard is there in situ. I can see it, but there's no drawers. So today's task is to do the drawers. But I've got to meet family. I want to go to the gym. It's still quite a busy day. And unfortunately, we have to talk about Wolves as well, Jord. But the hope, again, of us maybe grabbing a result or 3 points... I think until, and touch wood it happens, until we actually win a game, I really can't, I don't want to go and try and be positive and predict a result now, between now and the next time we win a football match, to be honest, because everything before yesterday pointed that there could be a little bit of optimism going into the game. Brentford had tailed off a little bit. Their away form was dreadful. We had a little bit of encouragement from the Arsenal result. In hindsight now, we played quite negatively against Arsenal. Obviously, we frustrated them and ultimately got a goal on there sort of when they were sat back. But Jord, everything that could go wrong yesterday went wrong for Wolves. Lineup was, I don't think you could go much stronger. Obviously, you could have started Mane. We had a discussion about that last week. We'll have another discussion about it today. You could have started Arias. You could have started Chachua ahead of Keanu Hoover, but I think whichever way Rob went yesterday in terms of lineup, he wouldn't get a 100% satisfaction rate from fans. Totti was injured. Obviously, we've got suspensions. We've got AFCON to think about as well. Sarr came back in for Johnston. I think the 11 isn't so much the issue, George, but it was just another dreadful. Even barring Brentford's goals, the quality of football that we saw on display from both sides at Molineux yesterday was awful.
Yeah, and I thought the Nottingham Forest team was the worst team to come down Molineux this season. I think they clearly were at that point when we lost them the other week. Brentford were even worse than what Nottingham Forest were for me. And they beat us in second gear again, like every team does at the moment when it's coming to play at Molineux. I think, like you say, the team sort of picked itself. For me personally, I'll watch a game of Jackson Chachua and go, he can't start again. And then I'll watch a game of Keanu Hoover and go, fuck me, he can't start again either. But then we haven't got anyone else. So that is such a massive problem over that side. But obviously with Mosquera out, Totti out as well, the things had to change at the back. Yeah, it's just deflating, really. It's heartbreaking to see what's going on at the minute at the football club, on and off the pitch. And I know we were talking, me, you, and Joe talking before the game about sort of predictions, and I said that they'll beat us 3-0. And it's because I think we can only play one way, and that is to be very sort of plucky, be very deep, be very defensive. And as soon as someone gives us the ball, we've got little to no quality to go and break a team down. That it won't happen, and then we leave spaces and we get hit on the break, and then we just concede goals. And And that's sort of the pattern of what happened yesterday. The first 45 minutes was absolutely appalling from both teams. There was no one wanted the ball. They were sitting in, we were sitting. It was a non-event for 45 minutes. And then second half, we get to the 60th minute mark, like we tend to do in games recently. We concede a goal, heads drop, concede another goal, and then it's just apathy
Yeah.
around the ground. It's apathy watching it at home. It's apathy within the squad. The Reds go down. There's no fight. There's no desire for me. And again, like it's chalk and cheese from the Arsenal performance. We're actually saying, you know what, we're quite proud of how they played and they gave Arsenal a real good game and they were tough and they were resilient. They've jacked it again at home for me. They've jacked it. I genuinely don't think there's a set of bollocks between the 25-man playing squad. It's shocking.
Yeah.
And I think we've said before, right? I think you can sort of legislate for a lack of quality because we know what's gone on. We know the transfer window wasn't good enough. We know the quality we lost in this squad over the last few years. What I can't stand for is that desire to win points and effort. And again, for me yesterday, didn't see enough of it. Didn't see enough of it for a Wolves team. And I'll stick up for players. I'll stick up for the team when it's right to do so. But I'll also give them my honest thoughts and opinions when they don't. And yeah, they were shite yesterday. They were shocking, really bad.
It's so hard to sort of comprehend what's going on, and there's so many fingers that can be pointed, and we'll talk about that. I'll touch on that in a bit as well. But I've tried to say on certain videos and podcasts that like I've tried to make sure I've been in a mental space where the football doesn't affect me. Sort of after 5 o'clock, I like switch off, focus on other things, and it doesn't affect me. I've got to say, since 5 p.m. yesterday, I felt empty. Like it drained the life out of me yesterday. I don't know if it was just the performance. I don't know if it was so much the realization where, like, I knew we were bad, but yeah, I think yesterday sort of really hammered home, like, we are bad, like, really, really bad. And the situation with Strand Larson as well, on a footballing level, absolutely shit, basically. On a personal level, I don't think that helped. I sort of looked at him after that, and it wasn't so much like I knew he played bad. I think everyone in that stadium knew he was bad and has been bad. There were certain things around me yesterday in the ground. Someone asking him to press, calling him lazy. Then he goes and presses quite deep. We win the ball back. And then the same guy's like, why aren't you up the top of the pitch, Strand Larson? It's like you're asking him to do one job. And then fucking hell, when he does his job, then you're blaming him for not doing something else. And I think there's so many things surrounding Jurgen. Like, we know the quality and the team around him is just is diabolical. It's nowhere near good enough to support him. He doesn't help himself. I've got to say that penalty there. Obviously, we won it. I think it was the right decision without seeing it back. I thought Tolu was going to take it, Jord. I was really surprised when Jurgen got given that ball. There were a few boos around the South Bank when he got the ball. And I thought to myself, as soon as he puts that ball down, I hope that stops. And thankfully it did. But the quality of the penalty, the quality of the run-up, Jord, in that situation, I mean, I've seen you take a penalty when we had the Creators Tournament. And what you did in that penalty shootout before, a couple of years ago, is what Jurgen Strand Larson does. When you're under pressure when you're under pressure in that situation, you have the ball on the spot and you just hit it as hard as you can.
Yeah.
I don't know what he tried to be too cute. I don't know what he's tried to do there. His legs have obviously just turned to jelly as soon as he puts that ball on the spot.
I think he's not helping himself, Strand Larson, at all. In terms of, again, we said last week, I think he's a bit of a sulky player and doesn't have the best persona when he's on the pitch. He's gesturing and throwing his arms around and stuff. And again, when you're putting the ball in the back of the net, you can wave your arms all you want, but when you're not, and you're not teaming to bust a gut to the fans, like, you're going to make a villain of yourself pretty quickly. That penalty for me, you can't, like, when you have when you're having a stutter and run up, you've got to score them, otherwise you look stupid. And that's whether you're on 2 points or you're top of the league, you look stupid. And I think you're right, Dave. Like, all it needed yesterday, again, why are you stuttering and trying to be cute with a penalty when we've scored I think we've scored 9 goals all season as a team. We're on 2
Yeah.
points, and you're trying to I don't even know what you're trying to do really. Just like you say, put the ball down, stick your foot through it, smash it straight down the middle, get the ball, and go back to the centre circle. That's all that needed to happen with that penalty. And if he hadn't already killed himself with the fans over the last few performances, that will be the icing on the cake now. Like, he will not be able to start against Liverpool. He cannot start, because if he does, and again, it's not about his perceived quality or anything like that. It's the attitude and the application on the pitch. If I'm Rob Edwards, I'm not starting him after that. Like, that's just, again, there's certain things you can forgive, there's certain things you can't forgive. I'd much rather he tried to blast it and hit it onto the rose head of the South Bank than did what he did.
Yeah, I saw somebody mention potentially there's a clause in his contract about being potentially having to start every game that he's available in. I do wonder if he starts on against Liverpool, he just can't, can he? He probably shouldn't have started yesterday against Brentford, but the fact that he did was a surprise to me. The only thing I can think is if Tolu is just that unfit, which I can't understand when we signed him, early September, late August. As a footballer, you've got to be match fit by now, George, surely.
I'd say so. I mean, whether he's Premier League ready or not is another thing, right? And I'd say he isn't, on the basis of he's not starting football games for us, and he's coming on. Even yesterday, he didn't come on until we were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
So it's there's obviously something underlying with Tolu, that he's obviously carrying something, or he's just not fit. I don't know what that is. The Strand Larson clause, I mean, we probably shouldn't speculate about it,
No,
but
of course not.
If that is in his contract, I don't know why a functioning football club would put that into anyone's contract, because then there's no pressure on your place. There's no pressure on anything you do. Like, football shouldn't be like that. I know. There's people say about Hwang starting games because he's got a clause because he's from South Korea. Like, that isn't true. So that can't be true about the Strand Larson thing. I'm sorry, but if it is, then it just proves to show what a failing football organisation this football club is right now, because that is not acceptable.
No. As a whole, the game, I mean, other than that, there was, in terms of attacking output from Wolves, that was by far our best chance, obviously, from the penalty spot. Really didn't, other than sort of half chances and crosses that were sort of heading towards goal, we didn't really trouble Kelleher too much at all, to be honest. The talking point as well, obviously, the defensive shape, Keanu Hoover starting again ahead of Jackson Chichua. I mean, he had a really, really poor game as well. There was an instance where the ball comes across the pitch to him, and he tries to cross it in first time on the volley, and it ends up on Asda car park. He had time for just a quick touch and maybe a half volley across the box, but again, just nowhere near good enough. It's worrying that he's starting. No disrespect to Kiana again, but it's worrying that he's starting ahead of Jackson Chichua, who we'd signed for what 10-ish million in the summer.
But it's just not good enough, Dave. And I said this in pre-season. I got hammered, and I'm saying it again now. The guy's not good enough. He's not the only one. There's a lot of players in that squad that aren't good enough. But I don't even think, from what I've seen of him this year, you sort of say when you go down, you keep people in your squad, you go, you know what, he'll be all right in the Championship. And I know he had a good loan spell at Stoke. I haven't seen any sort of quality in him, unfortunately, that makes me even want to say, you know what, we'd keep him for the Championship. Yeah, not good enough. And I think it doesn't help as well, where I will stick up for him a little bit. It doesn't help when you get rotated in and out of starting, not starting, starting, not starting. You almost need a bit of consistency. I think you almost need, you need that game time to sort of build yourself into it. A little bit on the other side, like what's happened with Moller Wolf. He started 4 games in a row now, I think. And again, I thought he looked okay again. He's definitely not Ryan Aitnery, but he looks okay. And that's sort of on that side. We haven't had that consistency. It's been Chichua, it's been Doherty, it's been Hover. It's been Rodrigo Gomez when he was fit as well. So there's just so much like changeover on that side of the pitch that we need to sort it out. And the reason why it isn't that we've got a staple right wing back at this point is because none of them collectively are good enough for the
Yeah.
level. That's just the truth of it.
One thing, Jord, as well that we'll probably have to discuss as well is maybe the shape and formation. I know it was the two results that we've picked up in the league, the point away at Spurs and at home to Brighton, albeit under Vitor Pereira, we're playing a back four. Krejci and Santiago Bueno as the two in midfield, and then obviously Doc playing as a right back, and I think it was Hugo Bueno at left back, but it could have been Wolfer. But I do wonder if now Rob Edwards possibly has to look at that, a change in shape, a change in formation. He's tried different ideas but sticking with the back five. We've seen two up front with Tolu and Strand Larson starting in his first game. We've seen three in midfield in the recent game against Arsenal. Obviously, nothing is working. He's been level at half-time in every game he's been at the club so far. So I don't know if that reflects on him and his half-time team talks, perhaps. But I do wonder if a change of shape is needed. I saw a few comments. I mean, he has done it every single game where he shows his appreciation for the fans, and he does come very, very close to the South Bank. You can imagine some of the words and gestures that were shown towards him yesterday. But then I saw some posts yesterday, putting him alongside some of the worst managers that we've seen at Molineux in the modern generation. Which I think after 6 games, look, I know he hasn't picked up a point. It's not being great. I think it's extremely harsh still, considering the players that he's got at his disposal at the moment with this squad that has been, do we even say created? This squad that has been sort of really poorly put together by the likes of Jeff Shee would have had a hand in it, but Vitor Pereira, Domenico Tete, they've left him with an awful playing squad. So I just think it's really unfair at the moment to judge him up until the end of January, early Feb, when he's had the opportunity to get his squad together. He's moved players on that don't necessarily want to be here at Molineux fighting for the badge, Jord. But there's so much. I'm not saying he's blameless here because, like I said, he could change system. He probably should have started Tolu yesterday. But for me, it's still a little bit early to be throwing things his way. It's almost, in my opinion, as if now Jeff Shee is gone, because we could blame Jeff Shee for everything. Now he's gone, which we will talk about later in the podcast. Ultimately, there's 11 to 15 players that played yesterday. There's too many people to blame there, so let's blame the other person, which is Rob Edwards.
Yeah, I think he might be the right manager at the wrong time in terms of, I think it's what he's done, leaving Middlesbrough, coming to us at the time he did it. Whether he's got an affinity and a love for the club, I think it's career suicide.
Yeah.
I think that he could have come in the summer once we had gone down and being able to build something in the summer with a almost fresh approach, a fresh set of eyes, with a fresh squad, because this squad will get gutted. It's got to, because it's rotten to the core. And he could have basically built from there. I think, and again, it's something that we spoke about a few weeks ago when he first got announced. And they were trying to give guarantees. And again, Jeff Shee was giving guarantees. This means nothing now because he's not, at least he's not meant to be in charge of football decisions now at Wolves, which again, we'll talk about shortly. That because you lose and you keep losing, the fans won't buy into your methods and you as a manager. The players won't buy into you and your methods as a manager. Yourself as a manager and your coaching staff will lose confidence in your approach because you're just losing football games. I think that's what we're seeing happen already. And I think that, again, Rob Edwards is probably only 5% blameless. Only got 5% of the blame at the moment for what's going on, because he can change it. He can influence it from tactics, formation, style that he wants to do in game. But again, this is in his squad. These aren't his players. And I've seen people saying, is the job too big for Rob Edwards at the moment? Or is this too big a job for Rob Edwards? I think it absolutely is too big for him in terms of this current situation scenario. I think it's way too big for him.
But do you not think that could be too big for any manager, though? I don't think any manager would have got a salary.
200%. But again, I was going to get onto that. I think you could lure Jurgen Klopp out of retirement and bring him into this situation, and it'd be too big for him as it stands right now, right? So this isn't, again, that's not a slant on Rob Edwards. I just think he's out of his depth in terms of what's going on right now. And I just feel like if we carry on losing football games, if we keep losing football games, I don't care who it is as manager. I don't care if you love the club. I don't care if you're living in and around Telford. You cannot manage this football club moving forward because the whole thing will be completely shot to pieces. Like I say, go back to it, the fans won't buy into you. The players won't be buying into you. You'll lose confidence in your own tactics and ability as well. Like, I just think he's took this job on at completely the wrong time for Rob Edwards. I think if he'd come in the summer, in terms of next summer this is, and built it from there, it would look a far better and it'd be a far easier job for him to manage and maintain than what it is right now. And because he's passionate, because he cares, because he loves the club, he will keep approaching the South Bank. He'll get closer and closer to it. And as defeats keep rolling in, as vitriol keeps getting thrown at the ownership, as more and more toxic that Molyneux will get, and it will get more and more toxic from now to the end of the season, there will be stuff that happens. There'll be stuff that'll be said that will be cross a line. It'll be unforgivable, and that's when that relationship will naturally end. And again, I don't want this to happen. I'm just telling you what will happen. I don't think he will not be our manager going into the championship season next season. I'm pretty much like 99% sure of it. I just don't see a way he will be.
I think there probably will be people on side of that as well. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I think, I've said it before that I think he deserves a bit of a chance, seeing as the risk that he took for his own career to join Wolves. But certainly, he's got to try and start winning some football matches to keep fans on side, to keep his reputation intact, to have the opportunity to manage this football team. Of course, Jeff Shee would have been the one that gave him all those original promises about, you'll be here, want you, the chances are that we're going to be in the Championship. We want you to sort of lead the charge again to get us back into the Premier League. But you bring in another CEO, whether it's Nathan Shee, whether it's another footballing CEO, which we can have a discussion about, they might have different ideas, and they might come in and, whenever it will be, a new footballing CEO. You hope it's sooner rather than later if that is going to be the case, but they might come in January, February, March, look at it. They've got their own mates that they think can manage the football team better, or they look at it and think you're doing a dreadful job and you'll be out the door. So it's, the only way that Rob Edwards now can keep fans on side is by winning football matches, and that's ultimately what he's got to do. So, it's going to be difficult for him. I think that's why they're not free hits as such. You want to try and have a go against Liverpool and Manchester United. You perform the way that you did against Arsenal away at one of these teams, you may sneak a result. But from January the 1st, you've got to hope. They know the situation that we're in. And I don't know who's going to want to come here. That's the thing that people keep saying to me or commenting on videos. You've got to hope by January the 1st, first few days of January, you've got players waiting to come in through the door to look at the team. We've mentioned positions already. A right back, unless you're going to put Doc there and stick with him there. Attackers are the obvious area that Wolves need to improve as well. But the whole club, you mentioned, the word rotten earlier, Jord. It's completely right. Just every department of this football club at the moment is in an absolute mess from top to bottom. The playing squad, the management at the top of the football team, it needs a huge change. But Rob Edwards, he will be under pressure. I don't think it's fair yet, but I certainly, from I'm not always right, definitely, but the responses that I got to the post earlier on when I said it's not fair. He's inherited this Vitor Pereira squad, which has been put together so poorly. I think he deserves a little bit more time to put his own stamp on that football team anyway. I don't know if you got anything else to add about yesterday, George. I mean, it was definitely an afternoon to forget for Wolves. And in terms of performance, in terms of results, it was it was dreadful from Wolverhampton Wanderers. So I don't know, Jord, if you have anything else to add to that before we move on.
Just, I think the 2 goals we conceded were goals that if I'd have conceded them in a team I was playing in at like under 8s, under 9s, under 10s football, I'd be livid. Like one of the first things you ever get told when you start playing football is don't let the ball bounce. Just when you don't let the ball bounce. And you got a 30-odd million pound defender in Krejci who's letting the ball bounce over his head. And honestly, like, yeah, we can go on and on about it. The defending is atrocious. Like the quality in this squad is horrendous. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I think I was sort of, like I say, I watched it at home yesterday, and I'm at a point now, Dave, where, and I think it's right to say it because I think there's a lot of fans probably thinking the same way. Like my first Wolves game was in 1994. So I've been going up to Wolves I've been watching Wolves for 31 years, and I've seen bad teams. I've seen us, pretty much in the Championship my whole life. We've been down to League One. I've been home and away. I'll watch streamed. I'll watch us when I'm abroad. I'll do anything I possibly can to watch this football club. I'm at a point now where, again, I've decided, to stay away this season. I went to Brighton. I got offered a free ticket. I went. I got offered a free ticket for Man United. I turned it down. I got offered free tickets for yesterday. I turned them down. I don't want to go. Even watching at home, which is sort of my choice at the moment. This is the first time in 31 years where I don't even want to watch them. I don't even want to put the TV on. And I feel so sorry for the fans that are going every week to Molineux, paying direct debits for the season tickets. I feel sorry for the fans that go up and down the country watching this team at the moment. Again, I've done that in the past. I refuse to do it right now with what's been going on in recent years. I honestly yesterday I'd have much rather have stayed at the golf club and carried on enjoying my day than come back and watch the game. And the reason why I do that is because I do this podcast with you. I love doing this podcast with you. I love talking about my football club. But I'm at a point now where I don't even want to go and watch them. Again, I'm not getting offered free ticket. One of my mates tried to sell me a season ticket the other day after Man United for 200 quid. I was like, are you fucking joking? I won't give you 20 quid for it. I don't want to go. I generally don't want to go. I don't want to watch them. And it's such a shame. Like I say, 31 years I've been watching this football club. 31 years I've been going to Molineux. And I'm at a point now where, because of what's going on the pitch or off the pitch, I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want anything to do with them. And again, it's not the fact that we're losing football games. I've seen us have bad teams. There's been bad football. There's been bad Wolves teams over the years. Even go back to Mick McCarthy's first season. Jamal Johnson, Rowan Ricketts, players like that. I'd be there every week. Like, I've got no problem with having a bad football team. I've just got no affinity to that playing squad. No affinity to them at all. I don't want to say hate them. Hate's a strong word. I've got no affinity. I've got no there's none of them in that playing squad that I sort of pull for or root for, other than maybe Matt Doherty because of his service for the club. The rest of them, nah. Like the rest of them, I don't want anything to do with them. And what's been going on off the pitch as well. I'm not proud to support Wolves. I don't want to. I don't even want to put like a pair of Wolves shorts on to go down the gym because I know I'm just getting ribbed. And that shouldn't be that. The pride and the passion and everything. My love for this club is being beaten out of me week after week. And again, I'll carry on watching because I love doing this podcast with you. I love what we do for this. But the only reason that I'm watching this football club right now is because of this podcast. Because honestly, if I wasn't on this podcast, Dave, I would not be watching it, mate. Especially over Christmas and New Year. Fuck that, I've got better things to do in my life, honestly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as well. It's almost like it's like an addiction, isn't it? A really unhealthy one. Like, for argument's sake, I'm going to Man U away next week, but staying that, I'm staying there with mates and we're going for some drinks afterwards. So again, if it wasn't the social element of it, I probably wouldn't go. So there's, that, and I think unfortunately that's the reason a lot of fans still go in, to have a drink before or after, meet up with family and friends there, and I suppose that's what you've got to try and do, make the most of it. Unfortunately, when I go to Molineux, it's normally I leave work, go to Molineux, and go home. I don't know. It's very, very hard watching your team when they're as bad as they are. I sort of go every week, and people know it's a joke. It's a running joke. I left the house yesterday, and I said to Lauren, right, I'll be back 2-1 win today. And she goes, you said that last time. And I think I'll probably carry on saying it every single match day until we eventually do win. So it's difficult. It's difficult at the moment. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the good times and the wins and the positives are closer than we think, but it certainly doesn't look like it's on the near horizon at the moment. Big news that we had Friday night, Jordan. I was hoping it was going to give us maybe a little bit of oomph and positivity ahead of yesterday. Is that Jeff Shee is officially, he's no longer the chairman of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. Liam Keane of the Express and Star posted an exclusive late on Friday evening, and then the club quickly followed up on that, giving us the official news that Jeff Shee was no longer in charge at the club. Seemed like a little bit of a joke when Nathan Shee, apparently no relation, has taken over the role as the chairman of the football club now. And although he's no longer in control of the operations at Wolverhampton Wanderers, he's still the chairman of Fosun Sports, which is the top of the umbrella, really, that looks after Wolverhampton Wanderers, Wolves Esports, and things like that. So it does beg the question, although Jeff is gone and no longer in and around Compton and Molineux, does he still have the final say on what is going on at Wolverhampton Wanderers at the moment? Jord, massive news about Jeff Shee. I think it needed to happen with the pressure on him and the BBC WM interview, obviously, that we spoke about. But what's your initial thoughts and reaction? I know it's still fairly raw because it's only sort of 48 hours, or less than 48 hours since it happened. But what were your thoughts and feelings on it?
I think my honest opinion on it is I think it's a PR stunt from Fosun. Now, they needed a fall guy, and Jeff had to be the fall guy. Now, after that WM interview, which we spoke about on the podcast last week, he had to go. And I think he said things within that podcast which the club, well, basically, he said stuff in that podcast in that interview, that the club wouldn't have been happy with him putting and stating on record, i.e., the loss of jobs if we go down to the Championship. Now, again, when that does happen, because unfortunately that probably will happen, because the revenues of the football club will diminish quite drastically going down to Championship, Fosun can now say, well, we didn't say that, Jeff said that. So Jeff's been moved out the way. Now, if you look at sort of, yes, he's no longer the CEO of Wolverhampton Wanderers, but he's the CEO of Fosun Sports Group still. If you were to look at sort of a organisational chart of Fosun makeup, you've got obviously Fosun, the group CEO, which is obviously Joe, but whatever you say, I can't even think how you say his name, but yeah, wow, Joe. I was saying Joe Gomez, and yeah, Fosun Sports would be an intermediary of that, so they would report into that. Jeff Shee's the CEO of that, and then Wolves feed under that umbrella, right? So Jeff's just been taken out of the foreign line. Nathan Shee reports to Jeff Shee. And again, you can say Jeff's not involved in the day-to-day operations of the football club. Like the CEO of my company, he's not in the day-to-day operations of what I do on a day-to-day basis, but I still have to report to him at some point, and I'll still have a chat with him. So the fact that Jeff isn't the face of Wolves now, he's still very much involved. So for me, it's just a massive PR stunt. Nothing to very little will change the fact that they put Nathan Shee in charge of Wolves. He's just now the new puppet. He's now the new fall guy. And nothing changes with this football club until the appetite to the growth of Wolverhampton Wanderers changes at Fosun, and that's from the top. That's not even at Jeff level, that's at the top. So they've had to remove Jeff because it was getting nasty, it was getting toxic, it was getting bad. But I honestly think Fosun have moved Jeff out the firing line. They brought this Nathan Shee in, who again good luck to him. He looks very sort of fresh-faced and bushy-eyed and very youthful at the moment. He won't look youthful come May because this club will ruin him. But it's just I genuinely think Fosun again. I spoke about this when we spoke about the protest the other week. I think Fosun generally think this is about results. I don't think they think it's anything to do with the running of the football club or anything like that. I think they've moved Jeff out, they put Nathan in, and they just hope we win some football games. Because if we win football games, I think football fans are typically fickle. Oh, they'll be back on side. They'll be singing "Hi-Ho Silver Lining." Elvis might get played after the game, and everyone will be happy. And realistically, the protests aren't about that. It's all about the investment, the future of this football club. So yeah, although again, I'll come back to it. Although Jeff has been removed, he had to be removed in some aspect. He hasn't really been removed at all. Nothing will change.
So this is what we need as fans now. And there was a question in regards to fan groups and things like that. So you'd have seen yesterday the Our Club sort of protest, which again, I think it was received quite well. The national
media. Then I thought, Dave,
yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
I agree, yeah. And the national media jumped in. It was on BBC, it was on Sky. People watching at home would have seen it because the camera, there wasn't much going on in the football match itself, but, the cameras picked up on it as well. But somebody asked a question in regards to what's next. But I think that's a really key thing, Jord, that, we need to understand that, if Jeff Shee is gone and he's no longer part of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club as such, what is his position if he's still the chairman of Fosun Sports Group? Like you said, he's surely still going to have quite a big impact on what is happening at this football club. So as fan groups now, and some people might think the sort of statements and whatever are sort of quite gimmicky and so on, but they've obviously had an impact. And I have no doubt that the fan protest, especially the one against Manchester United, had quite a big impact on Jeff Shee's sort of security, because he wouldn't have done that BBC WM interview if those protests didn't happen. The fans almost forced him into communication, and he threw himself under a bus, really. So I think that's the next step now, really, from somebody else, whether it is Nathan Shee, whether it is somebody higher up at Fosun, having a real sort of clear, what's the right word? Clear communication on where we are. We've wanted communication in regards to the vision of the football club anyway, and what's the next steps. But I think that's the next big thing, Jord, really.
100%. And again, when we spoke about it a few weeks ago, I was talking about what fans want is a roadmap. What fans want to see is sort of a short, mid and long-term vision of this football club. Because at the moment, there is no vision at all. The trajectory is on a decline year after year after year. And the trajectory of the football club is, it's off a cliff, right? So I think fans, what we should want, and I think what the protest should be about, is getting a clear vision, a roadmap, an understanding of, right, football club's here right now. Fosun want to get it to here, and these are the steps we're going to do to get there. Now, at the end of the day, the end goal for Fosun could be, we want to sell the football club and make a big profit on it. For fans, that could be, we want to be, and again, I think really, if you ask any sort of logical Wolves fan what they think the football club should be, we should be competing in and around the top 12 of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Each year. And every now and again we might get plucky and win.
See, that's fair, and that's not delusional either, is it?
No, and that's what I think it should be, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what needs to happen. There needs to be clear communication around that. There probably needs to be clear communication around the infrastructure in the stadium. There needs to be clear vision and understanding of the academy. There needs to be clear, and there's a whole lot of stuff that we probably, as fans, we want. And again, I'll flip it like I did the other week as well. As Fosun, as an entity, their stakeholders are us as Wolves fans in the football club. They've got multiple organisations and business within their portfolio that won't have sort of the pressures of stakeholders asking them what they're doing on a day-to-day or a week-to-week or a year-to-year basis of what the plan is. Fosun turning over, again, like I said last week, $25.2 billion a year. They've got no jurisdiction. They don't have to give us as fans anything. we're custodians of the football club in terms of we'll go, again, we're stakeholders, but they don't owe us anything. They own the football club. They can do what they want with it. And again, that's not nice for people to hear. It's not nice for me to think, but ultimately that's what it is. So as fans, the protests are about getting this roadmap, getting this vision of sort of what's going to go on with the football club. What's your plan with it? Fosun might just think, you know what? We don't need to talk to you. Two things up to you. And again, I think that's sort of why they have moved Jeff and they put Nathan in, because I think they feel like that'll diffuse it, when actually really it doesn't answer the problem of what these protests, at least in my opinion, and again, we spoke about the clarity around the protests a few weeks ago. For me, the protest should be about getting Fosun to talk and get Fosun to sort of realign the strategy for this football club. I think they've moved Jeff out the foreign line. I think, that'll diffuse it for a few weeks. Hopefully we'll pick up a few wins out of somewhere, and then it'll all just blow over and it'll be fine. So I think, if I'm right in thinking as well, one of the articles that's come out recently as well is that Fosun think that it's not their fault as such. They think it's been bad footballing decisions in terms of the transfer policy and stuff that have got them in this position. Then it comes back to fans just want to be competitive. As a Wolves fan, I don't really care what league I'm in. I really don't. But I want to be. I want to know that we're competitive in the league we're competing in. This year, and over seasons gone by, the last couple, we haven't been as competitive as we have been previously. And then this year, we've arguably got the worst Premier League squad in history. In the history of the Premier League since 1992. And I think it was the stat that I read yesterday as well. After 17 games, I think this team, this is the worst team in English football history since 1888. We've equalled a record. After 17 games, having only 2 points in the top
worst
50.
ever record in English league.
Worst ever record. So, at the moment, again, of all the good stuff that Fosun did at the start of the tenure over these 10 years, and again, still give him credit for that. I've said on this podcast, as overall, I'm still fairly net neutral on Fosun. Probably swaying to get him out at this point. And we've even gone on it more so in the last few weeks. But so I can understand that, give him credit for that. But what they've done in the sort of last 3-4 years has been negligent, and their legacy could have been getting this Wolves team into Europe. This could have been getting this Wolves team an FA Cup or a League Cup, which, again, the trajectory 5 years ago was very much happened. Yeah. Their legacy right now is going to be, you've created and you've overseen the worst Premier League team in history.
They'll be long once they in future. You talk about Wolves ownerships. Say they've gone in years to come. If things carry on the way they are at the moment, you would hope that if we go down, for argument's sake, they'll sort of be a bit of a wake-up call. But as it stands, they're going to be alongside the Batty brothers in terms of that's how people are going to talk about Fosun.
People are talking about Fosun as the Batty brothers, and how has that even happened? Yeah. How have you let that happen? I just honestly that I don't think there's been a steeper decline in my memory of a football club. I genuinely don't.
Yeah, in a specific division. Yeah,
it's awful. And again, comes back to it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking what's going on with this football club on and off the pitch. And
Leicester have had something similar, but again, they still were fairly competitive even when they went down. When they won the league, and within a few years they were, they were relegated. But there was still a level of competitiveness there,
But again, when it comes to Leicester, they won the Premier League, they won an FA Cup, they got to a Champions League quarter final and lost out on away goals. I think it was Atletico Madrid knocked them out.
Yeah.
But they had a massive, compelling event as to what's gone on at that football club by their owner passing away in a helicopter crash, which is something you can't even fathom, predict. It's a tragic event. And then it's sort of messed up a little bit. I think their son's the owner at the moment, and I just don't think he wanted anything to do with it. He didn't know what. He'd never had any interest in it. And so he's been flung into the position, and that's sort of what Leicester are being mismanaged. But there's this tragic thing, that real thing in the middle of it. That you go, God, that's just so sad that's why that's happened. Ours is the fact of Fosun have just gone, you know what, we don't want to play with this toy anymore. Self-sustainable, just make a profit. Fuck it, we're not bothered. That's what's gone on with Fosun. There's been no sort of compelling event. They've just decided to turn the plug off, turn the taps off, should I say, and just go, you know what, not interested anymore. So that's why they need to come and talk to fans, or that's why we need something, because, again, for me, they don't give a shit about us. Maybe they do, but if you do, come out and tell us.
Yeah. What's the next step though, Jord? Obviously, Nathan Shee's there. They made it pretty clear at the moment that's an interim. Maybe that's until they get the sort of checks and all that sort of stuff done. But surely, Wolves are going to look for somebody that's a footballing CEO to get this club back on track. Jez Moxey still available? Is he free these days?
I mean, again, like you would think they would, but from what we've been told previously about Fosun and their ownership and how they view the football club and how they view their investments overseas, if Jeff left, which he obviously has now, they would only ever replace him with someone within the Fosun group, which they have within Nathan Shee, should I say. And Nathan Shee has deleted his LinkedIn.
Has he?
Yeah, deleted it. So Nathan Shee, for people that don't know, has basically come across from Club Med, which is the cruise line company which we advertise in and around the football club, and Fosun own them. So they basically pulled him from a cruise ship travel and leisure industry business and put him into a football club. So if you're telling me they're taking this football club seriously and want to get footballing people in and a footballing operation, yeah, like they've hired someone from Club Med, and he's deleted his LinkedIn because he knows it'd blow up in his face. Yeah. And they know it'd get backlash, but that's ultimately what's happened. And should they go and get a footballing CEO in? Yeah, or even like a footballing advisor. And again, I know people keep talking. I've seen it loads on recently on X about just get Dan Ashworth in. I mean, in theory,
is that his job though, Jord? Like, because I would have said like, would you have? Obviously, we've got like Matt Jackson as the director of football role, but like
that's where I would say Dan Ashworth is a director of football, isn't he?
Yeah, rather than like a CEO.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. That's exactly how I see it as well. And I know he lives locally, and I know his son's in the academy, and people saying, "Well, just go and get Dan Ashworth."
It's not his role.
If I'm Dan Ashworth and I'm sitting on my payout from Newcastle and Man United he's had, should I say in recent years, and when my slippers, I'm looking at Wolves, this massive fucking bonfire of a cesspit of just shit burning over there. Like, do I want to jump into that? Nah. Yeah. Why would he? Like, again, it comes back to being attractive for football players. It's got to be attractive for like people within the footballing network who would want to come to Wolves. They're going to look at it and go, I'm going to let the fire just burn out a little bit first. And again, if I'm anyone of that sort of level, I'm going, you know what? I don't want to be associated with this until the summer. Let it burn. Let it just
settle down a bit. Yeah,
settle down, and then I'll go in the summer and try and fix it. Because at the moment, you wouldn't want to be associated to it.
Because the thing is now, obviously, Matt Jackson's in said role. That would have been done by Jeff Shee. So again, whoever comes in could make major changes, like I said with the manager earlier on as well. You would think that, I would say a lot of things are pointing towards, like you've already mentioned, Fosun will pick another Chinese-based Fosun employee. They've probably put it in the group WhatsApp. Does anyone like football? Nathan's the first one to say yes. Right, you've got the job. There you go. You know, but that role needs someone that understands football, but also understands money as well. And I know he got a lot of stick during his time here, but Jez Moxey was that sort of person. You know, he understood it. He was at times very tight-fisted with his money, you know, and he hasn't really gone on to cover himself in glory in other roles since. But they're the sort of people and characters that you need at the football club. And it's not an easy role to fill, I don't think. But it will be very interesting to see where that goes, and hopefully with some sort of communication from Fosun, which I'm sure we will be pushing for in the near future. That's what we need to understand as the fans of this football club. But I think the whole situation, George, maybe Fosun thought when that got released that, right, answers a lot of questions, let's move on. But I actually think it's raised more questions than answers now for fans. Jeff Shee was somebody that that a lot of fans targeted. When the protests were going on, what do you want from the protests? Some people were forcing out, some people would just get rid of Jeff, and now Jeff's gone. Unfortunately, I think the appointment on an interim basis of Nathan Shee really doesn't help things too much for Wolves fans and for Fosun as well. But a really intriguing situation, and I'm sure we'll probably learn a little bit more. But 9-10 days left now until the January transfer window. I really, really hope that Wolves can kick off and have players lined up ready to go. But this is Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we know the way that this football club has been run over the last few years or so. Even in the January transfer windows, when we know that players obviously need to be signed. We obviously need players here and ready for the start of January. It's just not happened. So we'll wait and see. We've got loads of questions, Jord. We'll try and jump onto these to finish off. As you'd imagine, a lot about that situation with Jeff Shee and so on. An interesting one to kick off with James Spencer. If the season ended now, you have to vote for someone. Who would be your player of the season? Possibly Bellegarde, although he's sort of only had maybe 4 or 5 good games.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well. Like again, if I was anything to do with the football club, I wouldn't be having a vote at the minute.
Yeah,
I'd be embarrassed to even accept an award.
And
that's just
you've got to vote someone though. That's the rule. You've got to vote someone.
I've got to vote someone. I would. Probably Bellegarde.
Yeah, I think Krejci was up there, but then I don't know. Yesterday it sort of put me off him a little bit, possibly, but maybe that's a little bit harsh. But I don't know. It's very, very hard. If anyone else has any thoughts or feelings on that, let us know. Sean Mitchell, would you sell he's put best players, but would you sell your best players this window while we can get more money of them, or keep them until the end of the season? I think we're done for now anyway, George. So you probably, if you can get the right value for some of these players, you're probably cashing in January, don't you?
Yeah, I put a tweet out yesterday about it. Like, I wouldn't be looking to buy many players in January because I think you're bringing them into like a losing culture, a losing environment, and it's not an environment that we want to be associated with come next season. So I wouldn't be looking to bring people in. When you're looking to sell people, if anyone wants to buy any of these players and we get some decent money for them, I think everyone's up for sale. I'd sell any of them. Yeah, I genuinely would, because I just think what's the point in keeping hold of some of these players?
I think Andre, João Gomez, they've both got suitors. You might get 60 million combined for the two at very best, possibly. I think you're making profit on both of them, obviously, but I think with the way the club's going at the moment, you're probably cashing on them now. I have no doubt some of them have got release clauses if we go down as well in potential contracts as well. So Strand Larson will be one, but I just think with the way his season's gone so far, I just don't think the value will be there for him unless his agent convinces clubs, look, he got 14 league goals last season. There's an opportunity there, but I just don't know. Ash Burns said, give us a list of the current players you expect to still be in the squad next season. Again, that's so hard to say as well. Players I hope are around in the Championship. I think Doc possibly could stick around. I think that'd be we were talking about sort of experienced pros and things last week, George. I think he'd go a long way there as well. It's hard to actually say this right now because of how bad we've been. But on paper, I think we could have, from this current squad, obviously moving players on and bringing some players in. I think you could have some decent players to give you a push back into the next division. I think Doc is one. I think if you could keep hold of Rodrigo Gomez, possibly with his injuries and so on, he might stick around. There will be players that will struggle to sell, that will, players that will force loan moves, basically, where clubs don't really want to take a punt on players. You lose them on loan. Tolu would be one to keep around if you can, but again, I feel he'll probably want to move on, but it'll be a big chance for him to be proper number 9 and get a good amount of goals under his belt. Matthias Mane as well, the only one that really got applauded yesterday. And I think, if you can keep him around, that by then got some really good experience in men's football under his belt, could be a real talent next season for us. And then you look at some of the lads out on loan, perhaps. Jord, I know we got sent off yesterday. Tommy Doyle will probably be one to come in and get a good amount of minutes for us as well. I know he's not a popular figure. Totti Gomez, I think, stick him around. I think he'd be one of the better centre-halves in the league as well. Goalkeeper-wise, possibly Sam Johnston. It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say at the moment.
Yeah, but there is like a rot within this football club as well that I just think you need to try and gut as many of them. I want as few of them around as possible.
Yeah,
honestly, I do. I really, really do. I think Tolu would stick around. I think Mane obviously would be there. I think the people you mentioned, Rodrigo, Gomez, Doherty, could still be here. I think that Mosquera could be still here.
You imagine, by the way, a front three of Mane, Rodrigo, and Tolu. That'd be interesting next season, possibly.
Yeah. I think it'd be all right. But then, I just think we'd need to buy so many players. Like I genuinely think someone like Bellegarde could stick around. I think another one you mentioned.
He'd be different level next year if he did.
Well, depends on how his World Cup goes and injuries and whatever.
Yeah.
But Boubacar Traore will probably come back into the fold. I'd have thought Pedro Lima will come back. I'd have thought, but again, he's not even kicking a ball for Porto B, I don't think, at the minute. So if he's even at the level for a championship team, not sure. I think you'd probably lose both left backs. I think they both go. The club. I do want it to happen. It needs completely resetting and rebuilding. So hopefully we can gut it and just completely start again, and then make some astute signings for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. The old gold chat, Dan, sort of said, he said, hope you have a good Christmas. Thanks, Dan. What would be your January transfer strategy? Any names? It's hard to put names on it right now. I mean, you could look at sort of championship-based players at the moment, but like you said, there's sort of a losing mentality and a rot at the club. You bring in these talented players from the second division, if they'll come. I think if they're sat sort of mid-table, lower mid-table, excuse me, in the championship, and they've obviously got quality, they may be tempted to come to Wolves on the basis that you're going to give it a really good push to get promoted in the following season. But you bringing them in, you know what I need to look at, by the way, as well? Ladislav Krejci's record as a player. Like, we can see he's a talented footballer, but I'm sure the season before for Girona, his record there was awful as well. He hasn't won a single league game with us either. So I don't know why I've gone on to that. That's just made me think of that. But these championship players coming, they're going to have like 4 or 5 months with potentially a team that's going to lose a lot more games than they get draws and wins. And all of a sudden you taint their reputation. Fans probably have a warped sort of perspective on what they're like as a player. And they go into next season not in the best of light. So it's very difficult. I think ideally for Wolves, you will want to, if you're getting offers of 25, 30 million plus for certain players, I don't think anybody in this football team at the moment you can reject offers of 30 million pounds for, even the likes of Strand Larson now. I think you get offered 30 million for Strand Larson, João Gomez, Andre, anybody else for that matter, you accept it straight away. And you just that's ridiculous money, because you won't get that in the summer either. It'd just be interesting, Jord, to see the type of player that they're getting, really.
I hope they don't do it. I hope they don't. I sort of read an article, I think it was the Tom Colomossi one, that they're ready to back Rob in January. I really hope they don't. So I don't want the rhetoric. I don't want the statement of, when it comes to summer, we tread in like an FFP line or anything bollocks like that. I'd rather they just save the money. Honestly, I really would. And I think you look at, you've got two approaches, right? You either go and try and get like young up and coming talent and bring them in and give them a few months of football if that's what you want to do, But again, I think that's completely wrong. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dave. Like, fans then get a warped opinion of these players not being good enough, not being at a level. You're a creature of your own environment. You bring them into a losing culture, a losing mentality, a losing squad. They're all going to, they'll end up being part of this bunch of losers that we're watching every week anyway. So there's no point in that. I think if you are bringing anyone in January, you need to bring in astute, old, experienced heads that can come in and sort of help guide the team to point. Now, again, I'm not saying these two are anywhere near the answer, but if we got linked with a Jesse Lingard, if we got linked with an Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, they weren't that exciting at the start of the season if you mention those names, but now I'm like, they could probably help this football club a little bit. Again, people with experience, they've been at the top level, they've won trophies. Those are maybe some of the profiles of players you'd want in. And again, I'm not saying those two are the ones I'm suggesting, but yeah, we need some experienced heads. I think we need. I'll mention that Villa team last year. Last podcast when they went down to the Championship and they went and got John Terry, they got Millie Edinet, they got Neil Taylor. Like, you've got to get some of these honest pros in around the football club at the minute, almost reset, and then go and build it from there. Then you can add your stardust in the summer, I think, of some of this like foreign talent or Championship talent to try and get you out of the league. But yeah, I think if we are bringing anyone in, we need to be bringing in people of that sort of ilk. Craig Dawson from a couple of years ago, those sort of signings, I think, are the only ones I'd bring in.
It would have been interesting. I know Dawson was a big part of when we struggled last season. Vitor Pereira certainly, didn't like him there, but it'd be very interesting to see if he carried on playing end of last season and then he was still with us now. It'd be very interesting to see what if the situation would be any different.
It 100% would have been the captain in the summer.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because he. I don't think he's joined another team, has he? No. Strange. RJ, he said, "Did you know that Jorgen's miss was the first penalty Wolves have missed in the Premier League since we came back up?"
So, I didn't. Yeah. Thanks.
To be fair, we didn't. We haven't had many penalties for about 3 seasons. We never got one, did we? So, no. So what else have we got? A lot of people asking for player recommendations. My mental capacity at the moment is so low that I wouldn't be able to give you many predictions on players. To be fair, a lot of people questioning Rob Edwards, Jord. I mean, you've said already that you don't think he'll be here by the start of next season. I think certain players are saying at what point will Ethan Diggory? At what point do you think Edwards loses the backing of fans? And like I said, I think that's probably already started anyway.
Yeah, I think if you take social media as sort of the sentiment or the fan sentiment and what that is, he's already started to lose fans. Again, I just think he's way out of his depth for this situation at the moment, and it's not his fault. But again, I'm not sure even if you replaced him, who'd come into it. I don't know. I think he's starting to lose it. I think if we continue to lose football games, and again, it comes down to how we're losing football games. If we continue to keep losing football games, how many is it? 6 in a row he's lost now? Is it 6 games?
Yeah.
I think if he loses another 6 on top of this in a row, forget the Shrewsbury game. Like, that doesn't count for me. But if he loses another 6 in the league, probably at that point for me, he's like, well, he's probably gonna have to go, mate. And that'd be a shame, but he's probably going to have to go.
Well, we're going to beat Liverpool on the 27th anyway, so let's wait and see. There's the delusion coming back in. Danny Millard, is it a time for a change in formation? Again, we mentioned this a little bit earlier on. He said, personally, I don't like 2 central midfielders. We're constantly outnumbered, and Jao Gomez and Andre tire. We could see more space and more opportunities. We played with 3 against Arsenal, and we were better. Then we revert back to a 2 for Brentford. So he's talking about the midfielders. So he's not so bothered about the back 5 by the sounds of things, but trying to pack out that midfield a little bit more, Jord. To be fair, I think if he had the numbers, I think you look at obviously Totti was absent yesterday. I don't know if they ever got said. I'd assume he was injured or ill or something.
I think it was an injury.
Yeah, possibly if he was fit and you had Totti, Bueno, Doc as the back 3, he may have started Krejci further up in the midfield 3 as well. I do agree with that a little bit. I think it takes a little bit of sting out your attack. You have to rely on your wing backs a little bit more, Jord. And I just don't think the wing backs, especially that right hand side, are good enough for that at the moment. But
No.
I mean, whichever shape and formation that you go for, there's going to be a weak link somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think if you start again, I know sort of I said last week that we can only play one way now, so we can't open up. But if you're a paying season to get older, you're going to that game yesterday. If you see a midfield three of Andre Gomez and Krejci at home to Brentford, that for me is uninspiring completely. And that's not because they're not all good players, but it's just such a flat midfield three with very little creativity that it just sends the wrong message. I think obviously at home you have got to try and be a little bit more forward thinking, and that's why you started Fer Lopez yesterday, who for me the game passed him by yesterday. I don't think he had any impact on the game, to be honest with you. And I think that's the reason why there was talks about him going out on loan and stuff. I just think physically he's not there yet. And again, he's been thrown into a situation and a scenario that it just isn't his fault, right? And I would just carry on playing him because I think again, if he's someone that you think you can keep around the football club next year, you should just be playing him and playing him and playing him and playing him, because if he makes a mistake or he doesn't have an impact on the game, that's not a problem. It's all about preparing him for next season at this point.
Yeah. And final question, Strand Larson, do you think he's played his final game at Molineux?
Probably, yeah. I think he will be trying to get a move. I think he feels like he's better than this club and this situation. There's arguments to say probably is on the basis of last season. What's in this season, I'd say you probably hit your level, mate. But if he can sort of negotiate or get a way out of the football club, I think it's good for all parties at this point for January, because he's our highest earning player. After that contract signed in the summer, it'd be better for us just to get him off the wage bill as well. But we're not getting 65 million for him anymore. Like, we'd be lucky to get 35, I think.
Yeah.
And if you look at the market and you look at teams that are after a striker or crying out for a striker, Newcastle sorted themselves out with Voltemada and Vissa. I don't think there'll be a massive queue for him. I don't think there's a massive queue for teams that are looking for a centre forward at the minute.
West Ham, maybe. I don't know. Not in the Premier League, anyway.
No, I don't think there's. I can't imagine West Ham again. West Ham are, I think after Leeds' win yesterday, I think left West Ham are 5 points adrift now as well. It's mad. So I think the bottom three, it's mental. And then there's probably fans now thinking, well, if West Ham go down and we go down, can we get Nuno back?
Bring the band back together.
That just seems like a fairy tale at this point. But
Imagine.
yeah, let's see on that. Yeah.
Imagine. Well, Jord, that's all for now. I appreciate you jumping on, and like I said, enjoyed chatting to you about the football, although it's not the most positive at the moment. Where can people find you if they wish?
So Jord7 on X and Instagram. But do just want to wish everyone a very happy Christmas, because this is the last podcast before that. Thank you for continuing to support the podcast. We'll keep turning up. We'll keep trying to do as good as a job we can on our side, at least. And it genuinely means a lot that people tune in, listen, comment, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you for that, and hopefully we'll be a bit more positive in 2026.
Yeah, I echo that 100%. Fingers crossed those wins and the positive times are a lot closer. We'll be back. We'll do a podcast probably. Well, it will be after Liverpool game, in between probably Liverpool and Man U if we can, as always. And we're at Talking Wolves everywhere, guys. If you want to catch up with all the latest Wolves news, hopefully we get some rumours and some transfer news this week as well, as Wolves, fingers crossed, look to improve this diabolical squad. But as always, guys, like Jord said, have a great Christmas. Hopefully you enjoy some time with your friends and loved ones. Have a few drinks on us. And as always, look after yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one.